everyone, my name is Allie Bellin, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my lesson for Math 310. It's guided towards second grade and up, and we're going to be talking about fractions, numerators, and denominators. The essential question that I'm asking the class is going to be about how do we use fractions and how do we see connections with them in everyday life. The standards that are present in my lesson is based on the core, and it's 2.12C, and it's having students draw or model and show the concept of fractions as part of a whole, and use whole numbers and simple fractions to represent quantities. Then the second standard is 2.52B. They're going to have to be using the appropriate vocabulary in the lesson and how to explain how do you solve a problem with that vocabulary. And then 2.72E, ask and answer questions about predictions and actual outcomes based on data that they've collected. The rationale of the lesson is for students to be able to recognize that numbers are used in many different ways, such as counting, estimation, sorting, and ordering, and they're going to be able to do this by the end of class, and that fractions are used in everyday life, not just through foods. The anticipatory set that we will be doing is for students to be able to recognize that numbers can be used in many different ways, such as counting and estimation and ordering and sorting by the end of class. They'll understand where we use fractions and how we make connections through fractions in everyday life and throughout our lives, and how fractions build each year that we use them or see them, and that we will use them in careers and such. The anticipatory set is will have two different levels of bloom in it. It'll tap into their knowledge and understanding. They will be able to, the first objective is that they will be able to recognize the use of fractions in their everyday lives by reading aloud. We will read aloud as a class the book, Working with Fractions by David Adler. They'll be able to recognize that numbers are used in different ways, such as counting and estimation and ordering and sorting by the end of class. The anticipatory set, like I said before, is that we are going to be I will read aloud to them the book by David Adler, which explains how fractions are used and how they relate to other things than dividing up food, because oftentimes in the classroom we talk about how students only divide pizza or pie or cake, but that's not always the case. We see them all the time with money and like quarters, and in statistics as we grow further up. In the book it describes how it explains fractional parts, and it ends up with the child understanding how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. This isn't going to be really relative to them because they're going to be so young, but if they can have that information to use as prior knowledge in higher grade levels, I think that'll be great, and it'll build a good foundation as they grow higher into their academic life. So when they read the book, we will talk about after we read the book, we're going to be talking about where they see fractions, how they see fractions, how they make connections with the book. And I will write down all of their answers on the board so that they can visualize how many different answers that they came up with and who sees what and who doesn't see what, and that way it can just build on one another. They can build from their own experiences and exposure to fractions. After we're done the anticipatory set, I will give students snap cubes so that they will be able to see like where and what fractions really are. This will be like an intermediate level thing, because we would have already worked with fractions a little bit, so they should know or have a relatively good basis of what we're doing. So before we go into the procedure, I'll give them a snap cube which has 10 cubes all the way in it, and they can just fool around with it and use them for manipulative purposes. So this will be 1 out of 10, so this is 1 blue out of 10 blue snap cubes, and they can just fool around with a partner or whatever just to get their minds thinking. They can really use any type of manipulative that they need. I would like to have them in my classroom at all times. So after that, we will talk about what type of fractions they came up with, and then we'll further go into the procedure. So once they're given the opportunity to play around, I will model the next activity, which is going to be this worksheet, which is going to be the M&M worksheet, which I found on Pinterest. I will describe to them the vocabulary that is going to be needed for the lesson, and it will be numerator and denominator. I will explain that the numerator is simply the sample that we have taken from the total, and the denominator is the larger total. I will show students, I will go through each step with them. I will give each of them a pack of M&Ms that they will need. So they are to estimate how many M&Ms do they think are in the package. And I'm going to go ahead and guess that there are going to be 100 M&Ms in the package. So I will write down on the worksheet that there's 100 M&Ms. And then for the second one, they're going to open the package and they're going to actually count out how many M&Ms are in the package. So I went ahead and I counted that there are 48 M&Ms in the package, as you can see right over here. There's like 48 over there. And so there's 48, so that'll be the denominator because that's the total. So whatever they come up with the total, that'll be it. And then for step 3, they're going to have to say what fraction represents the number of each color in the candy in the packet. So I counted out that there were 17 orange in the package. So there's going to be 17 out of 48 M&Ms. So 17 is the numerator and 48 is the denominator, and they're going to have to know which is which. And then step 4, they're going to have to say which color M&M represents the largest fraction. And they're going to have to say what fraction is for each, or how many color is represented. So they're going to have to go through red and say how many are out of 48 M&Ms or whatever their total is. How many green, how many yellow, how many blue, how many brown, how many orange. And then for the 4th step, they're going to say which color M&M represents the largest fraction. I have that blue is the largest, and there's 13 blue M&Ms. So 13 out of 48 is the largest, and then 3 out of 48 is the smallest, which is number 2. So after that, they're going to compile all the information from both of the worksheets that they've done, or all their data from the worksheet that they've completed, and we're going to compile it as a class. But that'll be for tomorrow because it'll be like a 2-day process for this lesson, because it's so large and they'll need time to process it all. So at the end of lesson, I will discuss and ask them questions. What is a numerator and denominator? Because they learned that right before the procedure. What are some ways we do fractions? We answered that in the anticipatory set. What are connections we learned in the anticipatory set, and how are some ways we learn this at home, which is also in the anticipatory set. For the assessment, like I was saying, that they're going to compile all their information together and from the worksheet, so they'll have to, and they'll be creating a bar graph combined with everybody's data, and we'll go over this as a class and make a visual representation, and they'll be graded on that. So this is my lesson, and thank you for tuning in, and hope you have a great day. Thank you. Bye.